In its 204-year history, there have been several distinct eras which have defined the physical, social, cultural, and economic development of Wilmington, Ohio. There is an era of growth and development in downtown taking place from roughly 1865 to 1900. In just 35 years, at least 32 commercial buildings that still exist in downtown, as well as many others that have since been demolished, were constructed. The way this era physically transformed Wilmington is only rivaled by the development of Rombach Avenue in the latter 20th century. Then there is the era of 1910 to 1928, the building of monuments. This era was Wilmington's coming of age and an era of great cultural growth. There was the iconic Centennial Celebration, the laying of the first paved streets, and in just 10 years, the construction of 3 of Wilmington's most prominent buildings: the Clinton County Courthouse, the Murphy Theater, and the General Denver Hotel. When he began to work on the theater, Charles Murphy was told the building was a bad investment, to which he replied, "That's not an investment, that's a monument." The next distinctive era came with the arrival of the air base in the 1950s, an event that was described at the time as being the greatest single influence of the century. Physically, the era was heavily marked by the demolition of many historic structures that were to be replaced with parking lots and drive-thrus. As documented in the press, the era was filled with a lot of uncertainty, and it quickly ended with similar uncertainty as it was announced on March 4th, 1971, that the Clinton County Air Force Base would be closing, a moment which the president of a local bank likened to the end of the world. Immediately following the decommissioning of the base began an era of revision and retooling. The 4-year-old Wilmington Community Improvement Corporation, with only $7,000 in its pockets, help from 2 local banks and a federal loan, was able to purchase the air park at a cost of $1.2 million. The CIC landed Furno, Washington as its first tenant in 1972, and then attracted Great Oaks and Southern State Community College, along with light manufacturers, and by the end of the decade, Airborne Express. The arrival of Airborne marked the beginning of a new era of prosperity for the community. Steady economic growth that further shaped the community continued with the arrival of Ohio's first Walmart and further commercial strip expansion along Rombach Avenue. Also, new residential development was for the first time mostly taking place outside of Wilmington in townships. At the turn of the 21st century, Wilmington was reaching new heights in economic growth. This prosperous era was defined by the transition to DHL through Airborne's $1 billion sale of ground operations and its Wilmington Air Park in 2003. This era saw the arrival of a super Walmart, a boom in residential development, and even a ballot initiative to build Ohio's first and only casino resort right outside of Wilmington. And then, as we had experienced before, much of what was anticipated was quickly forgotten.
Talk all around Wilmington today.
Wilmington, Ohio.
DHL left Clinton County.
Even those who do have a job.
DHL is spending $260 million on
10,000 people in this area lost their jobs.
Like 1971, 2008 definitively marked the end of one era and the beginning of another. You could say the post-DHL era was defined by a lack of control. Much of the change that took place in our community, while generally viewed as positive, was the result of decision-making taking place somewhere else besides here. The decision to end DHL's operations in Wilmington came from a boardroom thousands of miles away in Germany, and was a decision that the community had no way of overturning. Each of these eras represent the collection of key events and citizen contributions that, when viewed together, illustrate major shifts in Wilmington's growth trajectory. These key moments in history are like individual dots in time. It's not until we're able to look back that we can understand the interconnectedness of each individual event and how each will help shape Wilmington. In the midst of an era, the impact of a singular event or the contribution of an individual community member might not be recognizable or understood until observed in hindsight. In some cases, however, there's no question that what is happening is a historic moment. The 2008 DHL crisis was one such event. Just as we have transitioned into new eras historically, Wilmington will again see a new era and history unfold. Since the loss of DHL, this new era in Wilmington has observed themes of economic growth in agriculture, building upon strength in trade and transportation, innovation in education, explicit demand for supporting local businesses, renewed interest in preservation and investment in downtown and historic properties, and a desire for greater economic diversity and resiliency. To continue to help guide this era, there is a need to articulate and document the desires and priorities of our community, and to analyze the potential impact of our collective decision-making. Moments of civic engagement, community leadership, citizen investment, physical, social, cultural, and economic development, all currently unrealized, will author this era that is currently being written. Understanding the path that has led us from yesterday to today will help in developing a vision for tomorrow.